Hi, everybody in podcast land and also on YouTube. I'm James.
I'm David.
I'm Riley.
And this is the Carpool Critics Movie Podcast, where today we are discussing the 2021 A24 film,
Sure is.
The Green Knight.
The Green Knight. I'm trying to do the Green Knight voice. I just can't.
Not even close.
It's ridiculously deep.
It's also very altered.
Yes.
It's inhuman.
But the guy's voice is also just super deep. Anyways, continue, James.
Oh, okay, cool. Next week, if you're in our convoy of listeners who watch movies ahead of time, we are doing Suicide Squad.
Yes.
Suicide.
I'm pumped.
The Suicide Squad.
The new one.
Which is weird because it is a sequel to
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad without the.
Also a soft reboot.
Oh, is it?
It's a soft reboot, yeah.
Oh, okay.
'Cause the first one sucked.
And this one?
It's supposed to be awesome.
The franchise just
Really?
like,
Great reviews, so
yeah. Well, it's
James Gunn.
James Gunn.
There you go.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
There you go.
I'm
I'm not
pumped.
going to be on that episode. James gone.
Good.
Boom. But today we're doing The Green Knight all day. Different tone on this one compared to that movie.
Very
for sure.
Very
So, David,
Yep.
question for you.
Yes.
What would you like to give this movie out of 10?
A true masterwork in legendary filmmaking, both figuratively and literally speaking. The Green Knight is a scintillating and cryptic fever dream which I will be contemplating for at least a year and a day.
What?
8.8 out of 10.
Wow.
I fucking love this movie.
Effing L'd
It's
it.
sick.
Nice.
It's a sick movie.
I'm happy for you.
I knew you. Yep.
No,
I know you. I know you.
Okay, but here's my slogan. Here's my slogan. This
Here
film,
comes Downer Riley.
No, I don't think so. This film.
Well, you thought this was going to be John Wick, didn't you?
I was misled. I thought there was going to be at least a couple explosions. This film is a beautiful painting, visually striking, emotionally evocative, and open to interpretation. But I don't go to a gallery to stare at a painting for 2 hours. One fight scene would have been good. Just one.
It's a spiritual fight.
Yeah, it is. I'm giving it 7.9 out of 10 because I'm like, I know it's the same thing as the last one. I know that it's a good movie, and I did enjoy it. It's just like the last, fifth of it, maybe? I don't want to say quarter because it's
Interesting.
less than a quarter, but the last fifth of it, I was falling asleep.
Oh, interesting. Me, it was the first fifth that I was like, am I into this?
Oh, really?
But James.
Oh, well.
Yeah, James, what about
Meet you
you?
in the middle. The Green Knight is a straightforward hero's journey told in a slightly less than straightforward way. It's original enough to make it an instant call it classic, but with enough annoyances to keep it from being an instant normal classic. 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, okay.
I liked it a lot.
It's a really cool movie.
Couple things I would, but I liked it a lot.
Yep.
It's just
It's just time to hear about our sponsor, GroveMade, a new sponsor, everybody.
Oh my
Today's
God.
episode is sponsored by GroveMade. GroveMade creates next-level modern desk accessories for your home, office, and everyday carry. Their products are made in the USA, and they strike a balance between minimalist, spryly design, and function. Build your dream workspace so that you can get your best work done with everything from laptop and headphone stands to planters, pens, and knives. All sorts of good stuff. So thanks again to GroveMade for sponsoring this video. New customers can use the code CRITIC, a singular critic, it's me, for 10% off through the link below or at grovemade.com.
why didn't they make it critics?
Character count, who
I
knows?
feel left out.
Well, I'm doing the read, so I'm the... We're also brought to you by Private Internet Access VPN. PIA helps you hide your true IP address so that you can bypass geo restrictions and censorship. You can connect up to 10 devices at once and includes an internet kill switch
1 year hence.
if your VPN gets disconnected involuntarily. PIA is available for Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, and even has a Chrome extension out in the woods at the Green Chapel, so check it out at lmg.gg/carpoolcritic.
Oh man, I wish they did that voice for the Green Knight now, sort of. I have a game, buddy. Listen.
He's stronger than he sounds. All right. If you haven't watched this movie in a while or never, Riley, why don't you tell us what happens?
Spoiler alert, everybody. I don't know if we did that in the beginning, but here we go. Spoilers. Gawain, the nephew of King Arthur, attends a Christmas feast at the Round Table in Camelot. Elsewhere, Gawain's mother, Morgan Le Fay, performs a magical ritual, and the mysterious Green Knight barges into the court, challenging Arthur's men to a game. Whoever lands a blow on him wins his axe, but next Christmas, they must travel to the Green Chapel and receive an equal wound. That's the deal. Gawain agrees and decapitates the Green Knight, who simply picks up his head and rides off laughing.
Good laugh.
Crazy guy. A year later, after refusing to let his lover Essel out of the Friends with Benefits zone, Gawain departs for the Green Chapel armed with the Green Knight's axe and a magical green sash his mother says will protect him from all harm. After getting mugged by scavengers, retrieving a ghost's lost head, befriending a fox, tripping on shrooms, and bothering some singing giants, Gawain is welcomed into a castle by a lord, his lady, and a blindfolded old woman. The Lord offers Gawain the spoils of his hunt in exchange for whatever Gawain receives at the castle. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. The lady steals the green sash, and Gawain gives in to her advances to get it back, for which she rebukes him. Leaving the castle, Gawain returns the lady's quote-unquote gift by kissing the Lord, but withholds the sash. Gawain's fox friend suddenly warns to turn back, using his mother's voice, but Gawain drives it away and reaches the chapel, where the Green Knight awakes to return the blow he was dealt. But Gawain flinches and flees back to Camelot, where he becomes king, has a son with Essel, but then abandons her, marries a noblewoman, and becomes hated by his subjects until he finally removes the sash and his head falls off. But this is all revealed to be a vision. Gawain is still at the chapel. He removes the sash and prepares for death. The Green Knight then praises Gawain for passing the test, saying playfully, "Now, off with your head." And then there's also a post-credit scene, which I didn't stay
that.
for.
I did. I
had
stayed.
No idea.
I stayed.
And what happens in it?
A little girl we've never seen before is playing on the ground. She's like 18 months, very young little baby, is playing on the ground with King Arthur's crown and like goes to put it on.
Right.
I don't know what that portends.
Which indicates
What? A sequel with the
Does it look like the girl is his daughter?
The girl did not look at all Indian.
Okay.
I'll say that. His other kids in the visions and stuff were
Right.
had a little Dev Patel.
She did not look Indian.
No, just looked straight
okay.
Caucasian
Because the
kid.
interpretation that I encountered, because I didn't know that there was a post-credit scene, but then I saw people talking about it, was that was his daughter, and it's indicating that
He lived a different life.
he lives and goes back and becomes king, and it's like a happy ending. But
Maybe not.
But that's
I don't
not
know.
new information. That would expound on the ending we got.
But it's
that would be
different.
new information
It's different though, because he had a son.
No, he had a son in the
in the
the
vision.
vision,
yeah.
the hell vision.
Yeah.
But then he snapped out of that vision, did the right thing, and went home.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
we would assume that
Things are different.
things are different, and
Yeah.
he had a happy ending.
Yep.
So, and I'm
like
going
the
by
ending.
memory here. I'm pretty sure it was like a baby we never saw before that didn't look like it.
Okay.
As far as I could tell. So I was just confused by it.
Let's go from the ending right to the beginning then.
Sure.
And one of the first things, I mean, I don't know. I'm just being honest. The first question in my mind when I saw Dev Patel was playing a English medieval knight was like, oh, is this like an alternate universe or whatever? And there's gonna be a bunch of different like ethnicities involved or whatever. But it's more that it was just like Dev Patel's a good actor to play this role, and let's just get him.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's just a new paradigm of filmmaking we're in, where it just doesn't really matter. So it's like,
Yeah.
who
There's
knows?
there's no attention paid to it really in the lore. It's just kind of like he's a knight, but you don't need to think it. And I thought that was really cool.
It slightly matters. Like his mom is also Indian.
Yeah.
So like they look alike at least. So
It's
there's
clear
some
that they-
continuity.
Yeah, they like tried to make it sort of make sense, I guess, in the universe that like, he's this ethnicity and no one else is really. But I don't know. It
doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
And I thought it was
No.
like kind of cool that is a thing that's happening now. That hey, if we want a certain actor for this, but they're not the right quote unquote ethnicity or whatever, we can just hire them and
Yeah.
it doesn't
What
really
I like-
matter.
I'm
What I
not
like
even taking it from like a super woke diversity is
Yeah.
awesome perspective. It literally just doesn't matter. Like I
Right,
just
right.
didn't think about it.
I think what I like about it too is that it just helps set him apart so differently from everybody else. Like your attention's only on him, even when there's a bunch of other knights around. You're like, it's him.
I
Yeah.
will say though, I think it adds a layer of interpretation to the film though, because then you're like you can't help but try to interpret the movie through a race lens.
Sure.
When, especially if he's one of the only brown characters, then you're like, oh, what does that mean? Is it an
Yeah.
allegory for race?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there is some allegory there, but I did not pick up on it.
Yep.
There's enough other allegory to focus on.
This is one of those movies that like I think like when I finish it, I was like, I need to watch this again almost immediately because it's so ambiguous with what it's saying. And like, I almost didn't want to, like after watching it, I almost didn't want to cover it because I don't want to think, like I don't want to go and find like definitive information. I want to like sit in that like nether zone of like, what is this? What am I feeling? How does it make me interpret it?
Right.
I felt exactly like you, but simultaneously exactly opposite. I felt like, whoa, there's a million ways that, it was ambiguous and all that. But I also simultaneously felt like, actually, that was just a straightforward hero's journey.
Yeah.
Just,
Well,
Nope, fair.
sort of, I guess. I mean, I didn't really analyze it from the traditional sort of like the individual plot points and stuff, but did you think about it in that way where it's like, okay, there's he fails and then he comes back and there's a mentor and blah, blah, blah,
there's a little bit of that. Like, there's a little bit of like refusal of the call when he doesn't want to actually go to the Green
Right.
Chapel, and then
That's
the
true.
king's like, you got to go. There wasn't like threshold guardian, I don't think. character. I know there's like the fox is a guide. There is normal stuff like that, but it just seemed like he has this want, and he has to change himself and rise to the occasion to be good.
fair.
Right.
And then all is lost. It doesn't happen, but then it does happen, and we're good, and everything's good now. So it was pretty straight ahead that way. It was wrapped in this kind of A24 tone, where it's like there's hand jobs. I've never seen jizz in a movie. I don't think.
Yeah, that was
crazy.
That was actually the most shocking part of the movie for me, where I'm just like, what? We're seeing it. Usually they're just kind of like, they would find a way to imply that happened, but no, we just like see it on the cloth.
Let me ask you this, each of you, was this movie what you expected?
It was pretty close. I mean, like I've seen online a lot of people are upset that it's not like a fantasy action movie, but it's like from the trailer I didn't get that. I got it was like a surrealist like legend, and that's what I got. I feel like to me this feels the most like I felt reading like the short story, like Arthurian short stories when I was a kid, where it's like there's these like crazy things that are happening, but like in a weird abstract tone that isn't quite communicating what these people are feeling, and so it leaves so much room for you to occupy the emotion yourself. And I really felt that in this, where like all these thresholds that he's going on, these like specific little sub stories that are happening, it felt so like anecdotes that were living out in front of me.
Especially since he almost never talks in any of the scenes. It's usually another person giving everything, and he just kind of stands there and absorbs it. So you're kind of right there with him.
Very passive as a character until the very end. I expected it to be this surrealist kind of ride, visual kind of mind blow psychedelic sort of situation. But it did surprise me in that it was a pretty faithful adaptation of the original Sir Gawain and the Green Knight poem. Epic poem, and so I was like sort of disappointed by that because.
Wait, do you have familiarity with that?
I mean, I encountered it in like English 12 or whatever, so I haven't really looked back at it since then. But you know, I knew about it, and I knew that it was sort of this like meandering quest where he meets a bunch of things, like a bunch of things happen, and then he gets to the end, and it's like actually he lives because the Green Knight isn't actually an antagonist. He's more trying to get him to learn something and. So I expected it to be a bit more like a modern tale inspired by the Green Knight, but really it was sort of like a modern interpretation of that story. So I was surprised a little bit there.
I want to go ask you guys a question.
There's so many times in the trailers where he's swinging the axe.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm like, the blades are going to meet at some point.
I remember in the trailer seeing the giant hand come over the hill, and I thought it was going to be a much bigger thing than it was, not just like a 5-minute like, what do you want?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that surprised me, is that I expected some of these kind of like from the trailer. I shouldn't have watched the trailer.
This is why you don't watch trailers.
But the trailer is what got me interested in it.
Man, I'll tell you what I saw of the trailer. Send you a fighter to fight me. I'll do it. Turned it off. I was like, that looks cool.
All right, David, I interrupted you. Sorry.
Let's just do it.
Yeah. Well, like you guys seem to feel like it's really definitive that the Green Knight lets him go at the end. I felt like it was like it could like maybe he's like you did it, you survived, or like you were brave. Now it's time to die. Like you've accepted it.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like it was like definitive that he let him go. Like I felt like there was a little bit of like.
So you're saying that it's possible that the vision ends.
Yeah.
And then he leaves the Green Chapel, returns home, and the vision plays out.
No. That like the Green Knight kills him.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I think I heard David Lowery, the director, writer, saying this, that it's meant to be, what's the word?
Ambiguous.
So wait, what's the final image? What do we see? I don't remember.
I thought it was like the close up on him. He was like off with your head, and with like his finger dragged across his throat.
Yeah, he drags his fingers across his throat, and it says off with your head.
And then the credits roll.
And like the poem, he definitively lets him go. But to me, that ending felt like it's like maybe.
Okay, well then in that case, then I would say the post credit scene does give you gives you a definitive answer where like, okay, he went on to have kids. I guess.
I feel like because it's this modern retelling of it, letting it be ambiguous is the right decision. Because you can explore the idea of what if he just dies at the end, you know, and that kind of also mirrors Gawain's journey of going from like, I'm scared, I'm gonna keep this sash on me, you know, I'm not actually living with honor, to choosing to live with honor and choosing to embrace death if that's what awaits him.
Yeah.
And so we as the audience are also supposed to be like, okay, if he dies, that's okay. You know, like the important thing was the journey. The important thing is what we learned along the way. Now you have honor, good stuff. But I think that if I had to, roll a dice, or if I had to pick which ending is probably the one that actually happens, quote unquote,
probably that's
he lives.
I think so.
Do you think there's another ending where, like, they just never ever do this because audiences hate it? But do you think there was ever an intended ending where the vision actually is just what happens?
I hope not. That'd be such a bummer ending, and it would
just
work against
a tragedy.
it would just work against
Yeah.
what the rest of the movie is about.
It's not supposed to be a tragedy per se.
No.
I guess there is source material, so it would be a disservice,
Yeah.
sacrilege to the source material.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did change the source material quite a bit. I mean, in the source material, Sir Gawain is already a knight, and he's upstanding, he's a good person, and this is just kind of like a journey that he goes on to become even better.
Yeah.
And in this one, we meet Gawain, and he's in the brothel, getting drunk on Christmas Eve, and he goes home, and his mom is like, "Where were you?" And he's like, "I was at mass," and blah blah. So he's like, he's a bad guy, or he's a troublemaker,
Underdeveloped.
Yeah. So this is the journey of him going from being this like not respectable person, not someone who lives with honor, to someone who does.
Yeah, it would have been a pretty, I think, underwhelming tragedy. Like if he had started as a great knight and then fallen into cowardice, like that could be an arc. But where he starts to, if he had just lost,
Yeah,
that
it
was
would just be
lame.
sad and depressing. And what's the point of doing this? Yeah.
And I really like it. It's like there's not that many movies that are like deal with like facing death with honor quite like this. Like there's a lot of movies that are like be a hero, like die a hero.
Yeah.
But I like this, how like it's that I just really like that vision, and it's like how like living your life slowly fading away is so much less impactful and like so much less good than just like going out in a blaze of glory, man.
Oh, jeez.
I fucking love it.
Yeah,
Like
especially-
getting beheaded by a symbol of nature.
Green Knight, come, buddy. Okay, we'll talk about it later.
What? The Green Knight?
The fact that he's like, whatever blow you give me, I'm gonna give you, and he's like, all right, I'll chop your head off.
Well,
Like, what
yeah,
the fuck?
but, like,
why would you chop his head off?
This is kind of so like it originally bothered me because it's the classic backseat driver movie viewer thing where I'm like, why would you cut his head off? Why would if you know that he's gonna return the blow and he looks like this mystical thing, like this isn't a normal knight.
But he didn't say he was gonna. Did he?
Yeah, he did.
I want to say this for the record. I needed subtitles. God,
Yes.
not since Tenet have I wished I had subtitles so bad.
Yeah. And
Especially since they're speaking some characters in like an archaic form, and there's all this modulation on the voices on some of the characters'
King
voices.
Arthur.
They're like
Was that
whispering.
English?
Yeah,
I didn't have a problem with him. I had a problem with
Also,
the fox.
How does he say Gawain? He says Garwin.
No, they say Gawain.
He says it so weird.
Yeah, well, they're
Whatever.
Celtic, Old English, Middle English,
Sure.
weird stuff.
Right. So I couldn't understand what they were saying fully. But wait, what were we talking about?
Subtitles, like you
Yeah,
can
but before that, what were you talking about?
The Green Knight? I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Green
yeah.
Knight, the challenge.
Did he say that he was like, whatever blow you give me, I'm gonna respond in kind? But I don't.
Yes.
He did say that it could be a scratch or a.
He says you can just strike me however you want,
Okay.
and I will respond exactly how you
Right.
respond.
So
Oh well, that's dumb.
yeah. So knowing that, I'm like, you could just like give him a little nick or something,
Yeah.
But the other thing is that the Green Knight kneels down and offers his neck.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wait, is this a trick?
Dude, yeah, it's clearly a trick.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
also a bunch of he's in this culture, right? Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
pressure on him to.
That's fair.
He stands up and he just has to have this bravado and be brave, and
Right.
that's what he thinks bravery is.
Yeah, and it's an indicator of his character that he thinks that, well, obviously the coolest thing, the most honorable knightly thing, the badass thing that I could do here is to decapitate this intruder in my king's court. I'm going to teach him a lesson, and so he cuts off his head, and then is like,
Yeah, I think the culture at play it definitely is at play because they don't even set up why you would want the axe. The whole premise of the game is like, if you strike me, you get the axe,
yeah,
which is
it's a really cool
implied
axe.
to be sick for some, but they don't even really imply that it is a trophy that you want. They don't say like, with this axe you can slay any foe or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it must just be the fact that he wants to have honor and courage and do this thing for his king.
But the funny thing about it as well is the fact that the Green Knight and the King Arthur reiterates that it's just a game. Like, don't forget, it's a game, and they say this multiple times, and so it kind of like serves to. It made me want to decrease the stakes in my own mind, but then as things go on, they're acting as if it's like huge stakes. But then they also, again, when a year later, I think he says a year later too, King Arthur, he's like, it's just, it's a game. Yeah. But at the same time, you have to go and because it's the right thing to do.
But I think he has no wisdom.
But I think that's part of like the theme of it too, where it's like, it's about honor and chivalry and like dealing with that stuff. And so even though it is a game and it's like, to us, it's like, this makes no sense. Like, just run.
Yeah.
Within the context of this theme, I think it makes a lot. It kind of is recontextualizing what they see the game as, I guess.
Yeah. So part of the structure of the original poem and this movie is based around, like the actual plot is based around these 5 values of chivalry. You guys encounter those?
I live my life by them.
Yeah.
They are friendship, generosity, chastity, courtesy, and piety. And so each of the challenges that he encounters in this...
That hand job.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's chastity.
Yes.
And but the first one is generosity because he meets the scavenger and the scavenger gives him directions.
Doesn't give enough money.
First of all, he says that his brothers died in battle and he like doesn't offer to help him or anything. And then he gives him directions and he's just like, thanks a lot. And like walks off and he's like, is that all it's worth to you? And then he like flips him 1 coin. And so it's like, all right, you're not being very generous, Sir Gawain. So he fails that test. And then what's the courtesy? Generosity? No, that was generosity. And then I think courtesy is the one where he has to the ghost, he has to get her head from the lake or from the spring.
Sure. Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'll get your head, but what do you have to offer me in return?
Oh.
So then he fails that one.
But then
is that courtesy?
But he succeeds though because he gets the head and he puts it on the
friendship.
The bed, and then he gets the axe appears.
Yeah. So he gets rewarded once he passes the test. Yeah. I think friendship is the one where the fox is there. He makes friends with the fox, but then the fox is like, "Don't go," and he's like,
"Get the
hell out of here." So he like fails the friendship test.
Right, because he's supposed to give whatever he received at the house. He's supposed to give back, right? So he received the sash.
No, you're getting ahead of it. I think you're just talking about just the fox.
Well, the fox is after.
The fox is in the bag, right? Like the Lord has the fox in the bag.
But we've encountered the fox before.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about he ultimately fails the friendship test because he doesn't.
Well, yeah, he's friends with the fox, but then he doesn't listen to its advice. I don't know.
No, but he also betrays it because he doesn't give the sash back to the Lord in exchange for the fox who is in a bag.
No, but the fox gets released.
He does, but
I think that the sash thing. Oh wait, is that courtesy? Were you supposed to give it back? Anyways, whatever.
Basbasically, all the challenges.
We have to map these on, or else people are gonna get at us.
But what's piety?
I don't even know what that means
that must
in
be
this
the
sense.
Sash.
I don't know.
Who
fine. Cares?
I love those obstacles though, and I mean, like, I like that you can map them onto specific kind of chivalrous
some
virtues,
of them maybe,
but yeah, like I love just contemplating like what do each of these mean? Like, what is the fox and the fact that it speaks with the mother's voice?
Was that clear to you that it was the mom's voice?
No, I had to read that after.
It wasn't clear to me, and I saw it on Wikipedia. The fox speaks with the mother's voice. I was going to ask you because it was in your synopsis. Was it clear to you that the fox's voice was the mother's voice? Or was that just from Wikipedia?
I think in the moment I was like, yeah, no. When I was watching the movie, I was like, that's probably the mom. Okay,
it does track for me, but I just wanted to know.
Yeah,
because to me it's all about the mom. To me, the mom's incantations at the beginning of the film, they summon the Green Knight.
Yep.
And even before that, her incantations get him to sit beside the king. Right? The king was speaking. They were speaking through the king and controlling him. Right? So she's a mom sitting there being like, I'm going to give my son this opportunity, at least. Opportunity is going to present itself. He gets an opportunity to prove himself and be courageous. And so then the whole game happens. So then she gives him that like invulnerability sash, right?
Yeah.
This is another part where I wish I had subtitles. I'm pretty sure she said like if you continue to wear this, you're going to be safe.
No one can hurt you.
Right. So then he's going out into the world. He's trying to become an adult who can face the world, but he's still under the wing of his parents.
Yep.
And until he removes that shield of invulnerability and just faces the world on his own, he's not completing his mission.
That makes sense too, that it's his mom's voice that comes out of the fox and tries to stop him. Because I was wondering that, I'm like, why does she try and stop him if she summoned this whole journey? But she's not really interested in his growth. She's interested in like his perceived honor.
I think she's interested in his growth, but she's also interested in his survival. And she, at the end, she says, well, look, I know you're enchanted by this other belt, I know that you're being dishonest. You haven't grown sufficiently to face the Green Knight, so you will fail. And then he says, no, which
Swings the
that's a step in the right direction.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
another kind of issue I had is that he has this vision. We don't really know why, what prompted him to have the vision. And then he goes, oh man, after that vision, I better change my ways. And then he grows in that moment. He takes the sash off and he's ready to face the world and he does the right thing. But what compelled him to do that?
Wait, what do you mean?
To have the vision. I mean,
Like,
it's
why
one-
does he change?
There's a lot of
seems
stuff
kind of
that
unearned.
you could be like, I mean, specifically that vision, to me, it's a legend that's like, there's a lot of mysticism and there's a lot of like fantasy. It's just like the magic of the Green Knight enchanted him. And like the Green Knight isn't there to kill him. He's there to like make him be a better knight.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you think the Green Knight?
I think the Green Knight enabled that vision
Enables the
to
vision.
like kind of solidify the growth that he's had throughout the whole movie. That's my interpretation.
then
Okay,
it's-
because I was kind of thinking that he would needed to have the growth himself before getting to the Green Knight. And if you haven't had the growth before you get there,
yeah.
you lose the game.
Yeah.
I feel like the thing that is most fulfilling to me is to think that each of these tests that he went through kind of like got him a little bit more towards a realization of what he actually needs to do. And then once he was faced with death, he sort of had this vision internally. He just kind of like thought about where things would go if he actually did escape.
Just kind of connected the dots.
Yeah, and just kind of connected the dots with that vision. And that I feel like if it's the Green Knight sort of like magically giving him the vision, it feels less.
Yeah. What's
Cool
the?
no,
to
I don't.
me.
I don't think that he's giving them the vision. I think it's just like there's a vision happening, not because it's just like he's scared. I think it's just like the enchantment of the whole journey.
Sure.
It's not. Yeah, it's not like a spell that he casts or something.
the Green Knight's like, because then it's just like, I'm fixing you.
No, that's lame. And yeah, I think then in that interpretation, it's like the whole movie's kind of poorly structured, where his growth isn't progressive. It's just like right at the end.
Right. Okay, so I found a breakdown of the actual virtues and what the
give it to
parts in the
us.
movie, so we don't have to like stumble through it ourselves. Okay, so friendship, he attacks the fox by throwing rocks at it and scares it away. He fails friendship. He fails at generosity by not giving the scavenger the stuff. He fails at chastity because he gets jacked off by the lady.
Yeah.
He fails to respect the host, the Lord's courtesy of giving him like shelter and like the spoils of his hunt and stuff by not giving him back everything
hand
that he
job.
got.
You should have given him a hand
should've given him a
job
hand job.
while he's on that horse.
And
like
the-
his dick was at eye level. And he,
And the sash. Oh no, the piety thing seems links to something else.
we're
Okay, wait,
prepared.
but man,
It's
sorry,
okay.
It wasn't all there. Yeah, and he also wanted to ride on the shoulders of giants to get across the valley, take a shortcut, which is not very knightly. So yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, I saw that. So that's another instance of the mom kind of stepping in and being like, "No, you can't take this shortcut.
Yep.
This is supposed to be your big opportunity for, grit." And so the fox just howls at them in some kind of language they understand.
Oh. Wait, he fails the tenet of piety by not giving Essel the honor of being his lady or something?
How is that
No.
piety?
I
Isn't
don't
that
know.
pious? Isn't that religion?
Okay, somebody in the comments let
Yeah.
us know what the piety
He
part
was going to screw over Essel. Oh, Essel question. I also read basically what happens is I saw this movie and I was like, okay, now I need to read the synopsis on Wikipedia to see like what did I miss when I couldn't hear people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it said the lady at the like the Lord's wife
Yeah.
with the blue dress, she looks identical to Essel. And I was
Yes.
like, what? She's like a
what are
whole
you-
different race than Essel. Like, what
What
are
are you talking
Look like
about?
It's the
Essel.
same actor.
Same actors, Alicia.
What?
It's Alicia
It
Vikander.
was?
Yeah. What are you talking
You're
about?
just learning this now?
Yes.
No, it's supposed to be like of him like facing the fact that he like pushed her away.
Yeah.
Whoa, this is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I thought
I didn't know that, but yeah.
Well, I assumed that like they wouldn't just choose the same actor for any other reason except for it to be
Yeah.
like a vision for him to face like a lady version of the person he said he would never make a lady.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like my my algorithms for facial recognition failed me or something. I was like, yeah, super white chick at the beginning, and then like half black chick later on that he meets. They look so different to me.
I mean, the lighting changes, maybe.
What is going
but-
on?
That's so funny.
This is crazy.
No.
Nope.
Yeah,
We
the
should-
same actress.
Different hair though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, short to like
Essel has short
lady,
hair.
big
Yeah.
hair.
Do I have a disorder?
Maybe, yeah, you have face blindness. Join the club with Brad Pitt.
I mean, I can understand because
yeah, he has. Okay, so face blindness apparently is a real
I
thing.
met a guy with it.
But I believe it's just like an excuse for people that don't care.
no.
No, man, the guy I met with it, he's like, he has to look at people's hair to know who.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a real thing. It's
don't
definitely a
believe
real thing.
Yeah, you like
I've seen like documentaries on
faces. They
Okay.
basically they don't have any more character to them than like people's hands. Imagine you had to like learn what I look like from looking
Yeah,
at
but
my
if
hand.
I only could use hands to know people, I would learn about hands pretty quick.
Not to the detail that we
No,
were
but it's
evolved
like,
to.
it's not about
Okay.
like, oh,
I just think Brad Pitt says
It's the
that so that he doesn't have
circuitry.
to bother learning people's names around
okay,
him.
well, I don't know about Brad Pitt, but
Okay, I'm
there-
not being very
for-
generous.
For people with this condition, it's literally like the circuitry, the
Sure.
face recognition
Sure.
circuitry is off.
and that happened to me. I know how it feels now.
Yeah.
This is very public and very
I know
embarrassing.
exactly how it feels.
I swear that was completely different.
That's fair.
That's insane.
I mean, I can understand that because she is presented very, very differently, and it's not the movie almost doesn't. There is a shot. The initial shot on her kind of seems to linger a little bit to be like, oh look, it's the same actress.
Yeah.
But
I thought it just lingered because it was like, ooh, tempting.
yeah, I mean, and I see how you could. I can see how somebody could interpret it that way. But yeah, she was. I wasn't sure. This movie was so confusing to me, but that was one of the things where I was just kind of like, I don't know why they're doing this. Just can we move on? Like, but like while I was watching this movie, I wasn't thinking like, these are the tests according, corresponding to the 5 chivalric virtues. I was just kind of like, well, and now there's giants and now there's a ghost and.
I actually really liked how the world building was kind of just happening with no explanations. Like at the beginning when the King Arthur, who I didn't know was King Arthur when I watched this movie, by the way.
No.
I had no idea about the.
When did you think it was King
when
Arthur?
I read about it after. Like,
They're at a round table.
Yeah.
There's knights.
I just thought, yeah, it's knights. That's the king.
Yeah, they never say it explicitly. They say Excalibur. That's probably like the most.
I mean-
he's like, he's like, I give you Excalibur.
Oh, I missed
And then-
that.
I don't think he says Excalibur.
They say Excalibur.
Oh.
I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense why, like, when he held the sword, he was, like, pretty pumped on that.
Yeah.
But I just thought, it's the king's sword.
When he hands him the sword, I saw it with my brothers, and I leaned over to one of them. I was like, "That's Excalibur."
Oh, wow.
I
Wow, older brother splained.
I like I like how abstract it is, but I like all the King Arthur stuff. I like that it's like,
But wait, the world building thing was when they're in that chamber and King Arthur, like, looks over to his vizier, is like his friend there.
What?
I guess maybe it's Merlin.
Oh no, that was Merlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm finding this out right now. And he looks at the Green Knight and he like his face kind of glows or something and he's like, it's good.
it's cool.
Yeah.
Queen Guinevere was there.
Oh yeah.
Because I guess you didn't like. Did
Notes.
you go in knowing this was based on Sir Gawain and the Green Knight?
No,
the
I
epic
never
poem?
heard that before.
You were just like,
That's not a
it's-
poem I
it's
covered or remember at least from high school.
You were just like, it's a movie about a knight.
I just thought it was a fantasy movie, and I thought
Okay.
it was just like we have all the parts of the cultural imaginary of fantasy movies. There's a king and a queen and a sword.
That's so interesting.
Castles.
I had no idea that
And
it
you
was like
still enjoyed it greatly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I
I mean,
feel like-
well, the thing is, fantasy is like defined by those poems and stuff. It's like that, and Lord of the Rings are like what fantasy is. Like,
Yeah, I guess
it's like
so.
the foundational pieces.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
even if I don't know explicitly that it's King Arthur, it's like every king is King Arthur.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Archetypally.
Yes.
Mythologically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
guess
that this movie is a slightly different take on them. Like they're like old and sick.
Yeah, I wonder if there was something to that.
And I think like part of it is
They
probably
look
just
haggard.
practicality, so that in the vision we believe that he died, and then Gawain can occupy the seat.
Yeah.
But it also just like makes. I think it's also just like making it that it's not as majestic, so that it's like a different starting point for Arthurian legend. Because
Right.
like if he was like big hero like Arthur, it would be a different point for Gawain to start at.
Like you said, yeah, less arc.
It was definitely sort of like a more postmodern or like existentialist take on the whole thing. I mean, one of the things that indicated that to me was the fact that like there was no lighting.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning of this movie is so dark because it's like they're in castles and the only light coming in is from these windows, slits.
Heads up,
and
it's
and
England.
candles.
There's no sun.
Yeah. And so I was actually really annoyed in the beginning because
Oh,
I'm
really?
like, well, not like so
Yeah.
annoyed, but I was just kind of like, can't see anything.
Okay, so there's something they do
This is
really
such high contrast.
They do something really cool with the light, and it's definitely on purpose. I wish I had a notebook when I was watching this movie, but basically any really important legendary moment, there's like bright light that happens, and it's they're getting you used to this underexposed light, and when Excalibur's handed over, like there's so much more light, like the whole scene becomes really
Yeah,
exposed.
They use some RGB LEDs.
No,
No, they,
Quasars.
well, there's that, but then there's also times where like the color, like there's colored light.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure, fair. But they're very conscientious of it having to be underexposed, and then when like a heroic moment or a legendary moment's happening,
Yeah.
they pop it up, and there's a big lens flare or something, and I really like that touch because I can hear you, especially the beginning. It is dark, but I loved the moment I can remember after. There was a couple others, but is Excalibur's handed over, and then like light appears and lights him, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
ooh, yeah, it's special.
It's definitely like so. Like the lighting is sort of realistic in those early sections, but at the same time, it kind of what I do appreciate about it is that it kind of brings you into this sort of otherworldly sense or feeling where you're kind of like, this is dark and weird, and there's gonna be some like crazy shit that happens. And it kind of like prepares you for that in a way. I don't know, maybe I'm off with that, but that's how it made me feel.
Kind of foreboding tone.
Yeah. I heard some people saying they didn't like the opening shot where it was just the
animals?
the animals
And
just
the
kind of chilling there
smoldering-
for a while.
Smoldering building in the background.
It felt
What was up with
it
that?
felt cheap
I think
to me.
originally it wasn't smoldering, right? Or was
no,
it
no,
the
no,
whole
no.
time?
It was
only
like a
noticed
little
it.
bit of smoke,
Oh yeah.
and then it like cuts, and the fire gets like progressively
Okay.
larger, and that never was anything. That was never
So,
important.
But
What is up with
way
that
that
opening
I
image?
sort of interpreted that it was like, okay, is that it's like a loop sort of thing? Like that's what he saw in his vision, that they were getting attacked at the end. And that's when in his vision, the castle gets attacked and he's like, I'm a failed king. I'm going to take off the sash, and his head falls off. And so I'm like, is that sort of like
Oh, maybe.
A nod to some
thematic-
kind of cyclical nature of
yeah,
life, where
and
like
I don't know if it's supposed to be a literal like thing or
Yeah.
whether it's just supposed to be a thematic reference to that later. And I don't know.
just like everything is seasonal, and like we're in the winter of King Arthur and
Could
the
be.
spring of
Maybe.
Gawain.
We see that circle of the seasons or whatever
Yeah.
going around.
Damn visual storytelling.
I
guys.
don't know. I mean, we're bringing this to the
Yep.
movie
We
really. 'cause
totally are.
I couldn't think of anything.
But that's what I like about this movie, though, is that like there is like a million different ways you can interpret this opening shot.
I really think this is while watching it, I was like, I'm missing a lot. I'm
Oh,
sure.
for sure.
Oh,
It
yeah.
seemed like it was rich with
Yeah.
symbolism.
Well, like even like let's talk about that. It's not quite the opening shot, but the shot of the crown coming down, getting on his head.
I think that is the opening.
Is that the opening shot? And then his
Yeah.
head catches fire, and then the camera moves past him into the light.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that is one of the coolest shots
It's
I've ever
super cool.
fucking seen. It's
Yeah.
so cool.
that was actually the first time in the movie where I was like subtitles, because
Yeah.
it's kind of like the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
We'll fight.
Yeah.
It's
I
like it's like a prologue,
Yeah.
but all
Definitely
I
gave me
got
Lord of
from
the
it was the TLDR.
Yeah.
What did she say? Like, there's lots of cool stories with
Yeah,
good
I could
heroes.
not understand
this
what
is
you
not
were saying.
this is not
I
one of those
struggled.
stories. And then like his headlights on fire.
Yeah. I mean, I got the vibe.
The-
The vibe was there. I just
So
didn't
cool.
understand what exactly she was saying.
When like it obviously like there's some CG cuts in there, but like the effect is so powerful.
It's
'cause
so good.
It just like his head catches fire, and you're like, oh what?
And it really looked like him.
Yeah.
I did not believe, even after it's caught on fire, I was like, oh man, he's on fire.
Yeah.
After a while, I was like, okay, obviously that's not Dev Patel in there, but they did a really good job.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, this is like Lord of the Rings plus Hereditary.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
symbolically, it was interesting too, because like the weight of the crown, like if he decides to just go for the kingdom and like, try for glory that way in the wrong way, it leads to his downfall. He will burst into flames.
Oh yeah, allow the external forces to bring you glory instead of earning it yourself.
Yeah, or something. I don't know.
Protective sash covered with a jizz stain
Don't
on
use,
it.
don't use the jizz
Okay, so
sash.
do you think that it's the same sash that his mom gives him, or
This
is it
is
a
a big
counterfeit?
question I
Yo.
had, because first, let's talk about the axe.
Yep.
Both of those items were stolen by the scavenger.
Yep.
Right? He loses everything except his sword. And then he cuts himself free with the sword, but I think he doesn't take the sword with him.
Yeah, that annoyed me. I was like, dude, take the sword.
Wait, what?
He never has the sword again after that,
Yeah.
right?
He doesn't
No.
take the sword.
He doesn't
with
take the
him?
sword. No, he's running without it.
I don't think he took the sword.
There are so many things that I'm just like, why?
Yeah, okay. Okay.
It is
That's just a nitpick.
Yeah.
And then, so he doesn't have any items. He goes to the ghost house. He gets her head. The axe appears. Okay. So the scavenger no longer has an axe. I can.
Well, it's magical. I don't know.
It's magical, and this Christmas game is the project of the Green Knight. So maybe the Green Knight can just be like, bloop, teleport it, make a new one, do whatever.
How I interpreted it is that like everything he's facing is due to the Green Knight. Like the scavenger is part of the Green Knight's game.
Okay, well that's
how I interpreted it.
Because
maybe.
it really depends on
That
what
changes
you
things,
think
though.
about the Green Knight. Because I mean, it seems to me to be clear that it's like the Green Knight represents this like force of nature or the earth that we have to respect, but then also and is like an antagonist sometimes, but then we also have to respect and learn from, and so it's like this mysterious,
Well, it's like this,
otherworldly
Riley.
force or worldly force.
The environment and nature is chaos,
Yeah,
and culture and order is a response to nature. It's a duality.
well,
It's a duality. Like we
There's-
can't change that the world is always changing. All we can do is respond to the world. So when the environment, the Green Knight, says like, here's an opportunity, he has to respond by changing himself to live in that new world.
I guess so, but I wouldn't think of it so much as like the Green Knight is the environment and it's chaos and we impose order on it, because the Green Knight is trying to help him learn this lesson, which is part of our society and our value system. So I think it's more that like,
but that's why it's a duality. That's why it's like it's a never-ending, continuous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely disagreeing with you, but I think that for me, I think of the Green Knight sort of as this thing that embodies a truth, the fundamental truth in the universe.
The only
where
constant
it's like,
is change.
No, I was gonna say that like honor is good or something, or like moral rightness, moral truth, and he represents that. You can try and go your own way, but that's just going to lead to bad stuff. So you should try to be a moral person, because that is what is the only thing that's actually true in a fundamental universal sense. You know what I mean?
Well, I kind of think of it as like, in order to stand out against nature, in order to create societies and order in the universe of entropy, we have to create a culture. The culture should be one that meets nature and is a good counterpart to nature, right?
Sure.
So
it takes lessons from
and
it.
if what is required of our culture is the morality that you're describing, then that's what the Green Knight wants you to create.
Sounds like we agree.
I think so.
Okay.
It's all Jungian Jordan Peterson shit anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's a medieval morality tale. Obviously, there's going to be some ideology in there, but I don't know. I thought that the moral lesson is clear, and I think that's still pertinent.
So the sash, though. Okay, so
yes. Is it real or is it counterfeit?
Yeah, so the mom makes the sash, then it gets stolen and is gone. But then the second witches, like Essel 2, they have their own sash. She claims she made it, right?
Yeah.
She says she made it.
Witches? What?
Well,
not witches.
The lady,
necessarily.
the
lady.
lady with the blindfold.
Oh yeah,
she's
she's
the
the
witch, right?
witch, yeah.
And well,
In the Arthurian legend, she's the one that turns the Lord into the Green Knight. Because in the Arthurian legend, like Joel Egerton's character is the Green Knight.
Yeah, he's the Lord.
Oh,
Yeah, but that's not explicit in this. Like,
oh no, not the scavenger, the Lord.
The Lord. You could interpret it that like maybe that they're connected. Because certainly he's like a more than just a lord in the story. But
yeah.
It's explicit in the poem.
That guy parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's revealed that he's like the Lord, and he's like, I got you. Now stop being an
give me a
idiot.
hand
See you
job."
later. Where's my hand
I was
job?
actually gonna make the joke when he's like, "Give me like return what was given to you." I was like, "A hand job," and then they kissed. I was like, "Oh, they meant that." Okay. What else is that guy in? He looks so familiar.
Joel Egerton, a million things.
Oh, Joel, he's in tons of stuff.
Warrior.
But nothing that you can think of.
I mean, you want me to look it up?
Yeah, you do.
Everybody
he's
knows
one of those. He's one of those actors who are like, yeah, all right.
So are we trying to get to the bottom of like, was it the same physical sash the whole time?
I think it really depends on your interpretation of, is this whole thing a series of trials put forth by the Green Knight or not? If it is, I think you can be like, it's the same sash being passed on. But I think there's also a valid interpretation where it's not, and it's
because
could be a counterfeit.
On the one hand, I was like, wait a second. So if the axe is back, does that mean that the scavenger brought the axe to the ghost house, and maybe the scavenger killed that girl?
you're thinking,
but no, because the skull has no skin on it.
No,
He's
you're
only a
thinking-
day ahead of him. So
You're
no.
overthinking all of it. It's just magic. It just teleported.
Well, that makes sense because I could see the Green Knight as being in control of his own axe.
Yeah.
But I never made the leap to be like he's in control of the entire quest.
Well, and so I guess that's also why it made sense to me that it's more of like a fundamental universal force that he's representing, because once Gawain, checks off the the appropriate qualities in the chivalric list of things you're supposed to do, then the universe rewards him for doing this right thing by giving the axe back and like giving the sash back and whatnot.
Yeah.
and
The sash that he shouldn't have had back.
Well,
The sash is
that
like
he needs
mummy's crutch.
He needs the sash because he needs to learn to get rid of it.
And I mean, each item is kind of is a visual of some sort of like virtue or morality, and like the axe is represented or like represents that he was willing to help people, and the sash is representative of his fear or his like unwillingness to let go. And so like maybe it's just there's a signpost.
It's like
of
they're
the
actually
journey.
kinda
that's
too
piety. That's the piety.
What is?
Is taking the sash off and
willing to
choosing to
die.
trust that, like, okay, I believe in in these morals and in these ideals and
That makes sense.
the idea of honor enough that I'm going to have an honorable death.
Yep.
The
There it
quality of being religious or reverent.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he's reverent for the idea of
For the
chivalry,
code.
of honor.
Yep.
Yeah,
The
so
bro
he's like-
code.
Yeah,
That works.
The original bro code.
the original bro
So do you
code.
think you can see the sash and the axe as being two sides of the same coin, where the axe is bravery and the sash is cowardice?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, sure. Let's go with
Yeah.
that. They hang out on weekends
Yeah.
together.
Still it
Well,
all,
it's
you could
int-
wrap it in the sash.
In the poem, the sash it's like a symbol of the cowardice,
Mm.
but when they go back, all the knights start wearing that green sash as like a symbol of like you have to stay honorable, like you have to be aware of like the cowardice that's within you and fight it.
And that was the first
Oh,
fashion
okay.
trend.
Yep. Yeah.
Green sashes.
And I might be getting the interpretation a little bit off, but that's kind of like what I understood. And so I don't get the sense that they're trying to do that interpretation, but it's certainly a symbol of his holding on to the security.
Do you?
you should put it back on after.
No.
Well, I learned my lesson, so now why
What do you
die?
guys think specifically of that visual and like the audio cue when he's got in the vision and his family has left him and he slowly pulls the sash off and it sounds like he's pulling out his insides and then his head falls off. Like, what do you think of that visual specifically? Because it's clear, like, okay, what it's supposed to mean, but like the power of it and why they chose to have it just be like his head falls off instead of like someone coming in and cutting it off.
I think that for me, what I took from that was that his head was cut off this whole time, and it like his him going back and running from honor and running from his duty was the decapitation. And
Yeah,
so when
sure.
he takes the sash off, that's the only thing. Like he's holding on to this like wrong belief, and so he takes it off, and it's just like, okay, now you're truly dead because you were basically dead already.
And when the fact that it's just rolling off on its own rather than having some barbarian run in and chop it off, it just drives home the fact that he did it to himself.
What do you think is the significance of having that photograph of him that the lady?
I
That was
wondered about
interesting.
that.
That was so weird.
The expression he
Very
has
clear.
is like
That's what he said in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Well, how would you like that expression? I was like struggling. Like, what's the expression he's got in that photo? It's like a little bit of fear. Like,
It's a very ambiguous kind
yeah.
It's
And
the
so
same
like,
expression he's got the whole movie.
of. It's just his face, David.
That's
Yeah,
a
that's-
criticism.
All right, let's have
And
it.
that's all I say. No, he just like, I feel like the whole movie he kind of has this facial expression where it's just like, oh, what am I doing? Bad things, crazy things. Ooh. Like, I don't know. The Dev Patel's face is so evocative. Like, I feel like his eyes are just like big and when he's looking down and then he like looks, his face is facing down and he looks up. I'm just like, that shot in the trailer was why I thought there was going to be some badass moments because I was like, whoa, he looks like he's going to tool somebody.
yeah.
But I thought Dev Patel was a great choice of actor and the casting was great. But I do feel like that's one of the things that made me not love the movie so much was how he's just kind of like, what?
Well,
Like,
yeah. He's.
the whole
I don't
time.
think he's. To me, he's more of a vehicle for the audience to experience what's going on more than an emotional carrier of the journey. I also think this movie, like, this is probably my biggest fault is like it didn't really make me feel anything. It made my brain work really fucking hard and be so engaged.
Yeah.
But there wasn't like a moment where I was like, yes, and my heart kind of
Right.
connected with my brain.
I had a heartstrings pulling moment, which
Oh.
is when Essel is asking, like,
oh my
yeah,
God.
that
will
was
you make me your lady?
I was so frustrated.
That was
powerful.
sad.
That was really
But
sad.
it was like, by the end of that scene, like I was so frustrated. And then by the end of that scene, I was kind of like, okay, we need to see this because we need to understand how much of an asshole he is.
Yep.
Like he wants to be a knight because it's cool and he knows that he's the heir to the throne. And like, he has to be a knight eventually or else he can't be king.
He's not the heir.
He is because Arthur and Guinevere don't have any kids and he's the nephew. So he's like the next in line by blood.
I thought there was someone else, and that's why he was like, "Oh, I can't sit here. It's not my place." And then King Arthur said, "Oh, so and so is not here right now, so you can come up."
It was his mom's seat, and his mom is his
mom.
sister. I think she's one of the advisors or whatever.
Oh, I thought it was like he's saying his son. Again, I didn't even know it was King Arthur. I thought he said, and again, I couldn't understand what people were saying. I thought he said my son's seat, and he's not here.
Oh, yeah. No, but did you catch him saying you're my nephew?
Yes, I did, but
Okay.
but why? If he's the heir and everything, why wouldn't he be like, "Oh, finally"? Like instead, he's like, what, you want me? You're talking to me? And I'm gonna sit here?
Well,
Like,
because I think he
if
knows
he's the
that
heir.
I think he knows that he's a piece of shit, but he hasn't really fully faced that fact yet. So he's kind of like, I think he has shame. He has shame, and I think that's why he doesn't say anything to Essel. Like he's an asshole, but he's not like an outward dick.
Maybe
He's
that's
just
why
kind
he
of like-
thinks. Remember, he says to Essel, "I have time. I've got time to become a knight."
Right.
Because maybe he's like entitled.
Yeah, he knows that there's like he's going to end up in an honorable place eventually, or he thinks that he will just get there by virtue of just his birthright.
He can mess around as a playboy.
Yeah, so
until
now
then.
that's why he's just like dicking around and being an idiot. Man, make her your lady, Gawain.
Yeah, you're right. That scene was fucking
Jeez.
heartbreaking.
Okay, that kind of changes one of my criticisms, which was it doesn't seem like he like really wants to be a knight. They at the beginning of the movie, they're just like, "Hey, are you a knight yet?" And he's like, "Not yet." It's not like I have this need. This is the need,
Yeah,
and the whole
yeah.
movie is based on this need.
Right.
But if it's actually just like an entitlement that he thinks he's going to get, then that kind of
Yeah.
assuages that criticism.
He's a spoiled white kid, except he's Indian. And English, I mean.
Yeah. What do you guys think of that section once, like for me, the section that dragged on the longest was when he's chopped off the Green Knight's head and he's still at Camelot and he's waiting to go on the adventure. What did you guys think of that part? And like, there's the puppet show that happens a couple times. There's like the wheel that spins. Like, I didn't really get the idea behind the wheel other than like showing the passage of time, I guess, but they keep showing it. What did you think that accomplished, and did it work for you
Well,
guys?
they showed the puppet show with Gawain's head actually getting cut off.
Yeah.
So I guess
That
they're trying to
works.
nudge the audience to being like, this is a real risk, the real thing that could happen in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as the Green Knight was like, oh, as soon as I heard him say it could just be like a stroke, a touch your face, or like a gentle touch, I was like, yeah, that's what's gonna happen. Like he's not
Right,
gonna
right.
die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought it was that dangerous for him to go there. I thought the part that dragged the most is when he's hiking and he like slips and falls on the slope. I think it's right about the time the fox befriends him.
Is that when he takes the shrooms?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He like
Well,
slips.
Yo,
No, after
most
that.
disap-
That happens after.
Oh.
The shrooms happen after he slips.
Yeah, because he's tired.
It basically was like it went
maybe
from
it
like a
doesn't, I
slow
don't know.
scene that just cut to another slow
There was a
scene. It
lot
just-
of him just like walking through like
Yeah.
kind of okay looking wilderness. Like it wasn't that majestic.
I would have taken 5 or 10 minutes
Sure.
out of the movie
It's
right
kind
there.
of funny because when he takes he gets high on shrooms and
barely for like a second.
No, but for
Give
a
me
second.
more.
But I've
Well, when they're wet like
the
that,
whole
you have to
thi-
eat a lot of
This
them.
is why.
okay.
Oh, okay. The science. Well, the thing that struck me about that was I was like, this whole movie is sort of like a trip. So it's like, do we need him to take mushrooms in order to have this like little vision that he has? Like, I feel like he could have just had the vision.
What was the vision that he had at that moment?
He just like
green
envisioned the Green
flash.
Knight there and standing there, and nothing really came of
Yeah.
it.
He has his hands kind of like moss over for a second.
Oh,
and I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, here we go. Yes. And then that's
Stoked.
it.
This movie would probably be good enhanced.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
I'm-
too scary.
I might have not.
I think a
like
second
gotten
watch
so
it-
bored.
Yeah.
Oh, that enhanced. I thought you. For a second, I thought you meant like on mushrooms. I was
No,
like,
no.
way.
No, you
But-
probably have a bad time. Yeah.
No, I could have smoked a bit. That would have been cool.
Not the first time. You'd be too confused, I think.
Oh yeah, it could
Second
be.
time though, maybe. I'm gonna watch this again for sure.
One of the things that kept me going with it, where it's like, I feel like I would have gotten bored maybe, was these little bits where characters break out of the archaic language for a second and say something in kind of modern.
Those bits where the movie becomes like super original and modern.
Yeah, sort of.
I know exactly the part you're gonna talk when the ghost says, "What are you doing?
Yeah, those bits.
Don't touch me." Like,
Yeah.
that was the best.
And he's like, if I get your head, what will I get in return? And she's like, why would you ask me that? Why would you ever ask me that?
Yeah.
He's like, you idiot.
Yeah.
And
She was awesome.
there was a couple parts where a year after the Green Knight encounter, Arthur is in Gawain's place, and he's like, or it's
His mother's
Arthur's
place.
or some. They're inside. They're chilling, and he's like, you must go. This is like, it's this big grand language and stuff. And then he just kind of stops and like picks at his teeth, and he's like, my tooth hurts.
Oh yeah.
And then it happens like a couple minutes later or whatever, where he's like, you have to go or whatever. And he starts like caressing his face, and he's like, you have mud on your face.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just like,
Okay.
it was like, it's not comic relief per se, because it's not like a funny thing, but it just kind of cuts the tension a little bit. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I like
Yeah.
that.
Well, for a movie that doesn't have very much humor, it's never heavy. Like it doesn't feel like oppressively heavy. It just feels like
Yeah.
focused. And I appreciated that.
I thought a great line from Essel was when he's like, I have to go, or he's like, why do you have to go? And he's like, because something about greatness, like I need to achieve greatness. And she's like, why greatness? Is goodness not enough? I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, for a commoner.
Because it's like, that's how you stay a commoner your whole life.
Yeah.
God.
I got to where I am through hard work, being the nephew of the king. It was kind of an interesting question, though, because it's like, okay, that posed the question of, is honor worth going through all of this hardship? Like,
well, the honor is part of class in this world.
yeah, I guess so.
So I say the modern value is certainly that goodness is better than greatness.
Goodness is better than greatness?
Well, that's
think
because
that-
you're a Marxist.
Maybe. But yes, I mean, like certainly in Arthurian times, it would be the opposite. Greatness is better than goodness.
Right. Well, especially because for most people, they are living in literal mud
Yeah.
and shit.
That's
And
fair.
so, they have to have some like great ideal to look up to. And like, maybe I could be a knight. Maybe I could go on a grand adventure. But
That's
now
fair.
we have Netflix and, we don't need to go on a grand adventure.
Well,
We
unless
can
the,
stay
unless the
home.
movie only comes out in the theaters, and then you do.
Then you have to
go out.
venture out to the theater. Yeah.
Ew.
Um,
Guys, I went to Mission to watch this movie.
Why?
what?
You know, I worked at
Why?
that movie theater for 2 years when I was 15.
Why did you go to
There was
Mission?
a big puddle of pee in the bathroom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in
Which
Mission.
bathroom?
Uh,
East or west?
Why'd you
the
go
one
so
on the
far
left.
away?
I was meeting a friend there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
But yeah, Mission, man, it sucks.
Don't hang out with Mission people, dude.
Jeez.
I graduated and left. Everyone who didn't, bad people.
That's
Just
rude.
joking. Someone listen to this podcast. Love you.
Okay, I have a few more hit picks. The scavenger actor. Really, really good.
I hated him.
What?
You know that guy, right? Have you seen The Killing of a Sacred Deer?
No, but I've seen him he's been in a few
You
things.
should watch that if you hate that guy or love that guy.
Why?
Or
He's
both.
he's bad?
He is the adversary in that.
But does he do a good job?
Yeah. That if you,
didn't
we got to
think-
cover that director's movies.
Sure. Wait,
I think he did The Lobster as well.
Oh.
Who is this?
The Killing of a Sacred Deer
I
is
saw
a
The Lobster.
torment of a movie. It's a
Anyways, you didn't like the actor.
I
Why?
like the second part of the performance, like when he goes evil, but the first, like, oh, I'm just a British guy and I'm cleaning up the battlefield.
What?
I don't know. It just felt really fucking amateurish to me or something. I just didn't connect with it. And
Oh, really?
It might have just been me.
That
but
whole scene was one shot.
I love the way it's shot.
yeah.
But I feel like I'm like, is that really the best take they got? And maybe it's just
Oh,
me.
man. I thought it was
But
great.
I didn't connect with that first part at all.
I totally believed he was that character. And
Me too.
I liked how weird he was.
Yeah.
and
Like-
they keep wide the whole time.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
never get to see him.
Yeah, we don't get to a close-up shot until he flicks him the coin, and then he like does a magic trick with it, and he like kisses his hand or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was a great shot, and I was just like, he
Director.
did a good job.
Let's talk
The
about
director is Yorgos Lanthimos, and people have been requesting his movies a lot.
Okay.
He
I'd be
did The
down.
Lobster.
He did The Lobster and Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Oh, nice.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen The Lobster, but
I want to talk a little bit about the visuals of this movie because this is a low budget movie. It's $15 million, 1.5.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it is phenomenal. And there's a
Yeah.
couple points where like you can see the low budget peek through. Like there's a shot like tracking of Camelot, and it's like there's kind of different levels of the castle that are showing, and like the top level is clearly CG and it just doesn't track right.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of that where like the lighting, it's clearly like they didn't quite get the exposure right for if it was the sun.
that might be clear to you. I think to most people, that all looked fine. The
Totally.
thing that's, I think, stood out most egregiously throughout, like every single time, was the fox.
Yeah,
every
the fox
time
is bad.
the fox was there.
oh, really?
Yeah,
I thought it looked pretty good.
there's a couple times where it
Yeah,
looked
pretty
fine.
good, but you're like, oh, that's CG.
Yeah.
Pre-CG, it looks pretty
Yeah.
good.
I guess so.
But then there's all of the like phenomenal shots, like the shot when he's like walking through, like on his horse going through like where they're logging and stuff, or like even like the Green Knight's chapel itself is like I wanted a painting. I literally want a painting of when the Green Knight's standing over him with the axe and he's just on all fours.
Oh, yeah.
That's art. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
shot is so beautiful. It's
even
incredible.
Even the shot where he's sort of at the entrance to the Green Chapel, and it looks like it's
Yeah.
an archway
Yeah.
made of like nature though, and
So
it's such
cool.
as this bright yellow backlighting him.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Great imagery. Yeah.
How about the practical effects? How about the Green Knight's face?
Oh man,
They go right
So
close
good,
to it, and it
yeah.
looks amazing.
Yeah.
it looked so
I
good.
don't even know how they did that.
Yeah, the fact that this is such a cheap movie, like they did such a phenomenal job.
Just
with
and
that
the
money.
visual design of the
Yeah.
Green Knight. Like I love the fact that he is kind of like made of bark and branches and stuff.
Well, like, yeah, I
It's like
saw
a half end.
a couple screenshots of like the older versions of like this story, and it's just like a dude with like a big beard and hair and shit.
Yeah,
It's like, no,
lame.
this is special.
Got green armor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think like the costume design too is pretty phenomenal. Like I like all the stuff in Camelot looks really good, but the stuff in the Vision was like so beautiful. Like when they're getting married, like her dress and his outfit, and then when he's just like an old man king, like everything they're wearing looks so modern, but it looks like so like believable at the same time. Like, it was just so designer, but I fucking loved it.
So designer. Yeah, but I feel like they did a good job of kind of a mix of sort of period appropriate attire and then also having like a little bit of flair, like his bright
sash?
yellow cloak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the sash, I guess.
No, that's what I meant. I meant the cloak.
The
orange
crown with the like halo on it.
Yeah, it has a cool crown.
So
Great
cool.
production
Great
design on that.
visual.
Yeah, they did phenomenal
Yeah.
job.
Also, one more thing about the Green Knight, when he's moving, the sound of like when he moves, it's the sound of trees like cracking
Yeah,
and like rustling.
that's cool.
It's
The movie had good sound.
Yeah, I want to play a game. It's called Decipher This Audience Review's Meaning.
Oh, okay. Bring it on.
sure.
It's
'cause,
just
like,
a game, guys.
yeah, it's just a game. Because like this movie's pretty divisive. It's got really good critic reviews, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's 53% for audience. And,
Really?
Yeah, when you watch it, like thinking about it, it's like, yeah, there's just a lot of people that are gonna find it really
That makes
boring.
sense, actually.
Or too far up its own ass.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
it definitely seems
um,
pretentious at times,
yeah.
and that's why I, didn't love it so much. But
But
It's like
this,
looking in a mirror.
there's like,
Yep.
I mean, there's stuff that's like technically correct, but I'm like, I can disagree with. But this one in particular, this one, I'm like, what does this mean? A 2-hour-long Hollywood self-masturbation, you got it. A complete corruption of the original story.
what?
A chivalric tale contorted to glorify atheism and gayness.
What?
Please explain that to
the
me.
gayness because he kisses the Lord? That's in the original poem.
Yeah, he kisses him way
Really?
more in the original
Yeah.
one. He gives him like 6 kisses total.
Huh.
I'm gonna give you a kiss for each kiss I got.
So this guy, okay, he
So
seems, he seems
glorify
to.
atheism? Like, let's do
Like
one
he's
at a
getting
time.
he's getting all the kisses from the lady, and the whole time he's thinking, "Ooh, I get to give these to the Lord later."
No, but this person who wrote this, he complains that it's a bastardized version of the original poem. So
Guy's an idiot.
apparently has some kind of familiarity with the original poem, but then complains about the homosexuality.
But
you're,
like, it's not even really.
you're saying that's in the original poem.
Yeah, there's like, because it's like the same thing where it's like anything you get,
Trying
you
to
give
think.
back to me. And like he keeps refusing the lady, but he keeps getting like, she keeps giving him a kiss. So it gives him 1 the first day, 2 the second, and 3 the
This guy
third day,
literally
and also the sash.
He's literally doing a surface level interpretation of this, where there are 2 guys kiss on screen, so it must be a homosexual thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to get used to that, pal.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
the Lord. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, maybe the Lord is gay, and that this is kind of like his way of playing around. But I feel like because it's this whole sort of like cosmic meaning, sort of like grand adventure type thing. I don't think the Lord is like, ooh,
No.
we're playing a little game. I think he's part of this journey. So I think you can't really take it literally. Of like, this is a Lord who literally lives in this castle out here, and he does this wager as a fun thing to do. You
and
know,
lords fuck.
he likes getting cuckolded.
Lords, they do whatever they want.
Wait, then what do you think about the atheism?
Well, I thought that
comment?
was so weird because, like, as I've been saying, to me, part of what I got from this movie is that there is this sort of like you could view it as a in support of absolute truth, or in support of there existing this moral reality, which is more compatible with deism than atheism. So I was like, or theism or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't see.
They
where
had a lot
it
of
is definitely-
Catholicism in the story.
I thought it was like
Did
strangely.
you go to mass?
I expected it to be more critical
Yeah,
of
same.
belief or religion or whatever than it was, but like really, the Christianity that we see here is just kind of part of life, and they don't really comment on it big way one way or the other.
Yep.
So that's kind of weird.
Yep.
I don't know.
No idea, man. No idea.
My-
That guy
my
doesn't know
I
what
think
he's
that
talking about.
person viewed the whole movie through a lens that they view everything with, and I don't have that lens.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
Yeah.
I don't live my life.
It's
yeah,
a problem
that way.
right now.
Yeah, there's other reviews where I just like can't disagree with what they said, although I disagree with the sentiment, like where it's like 1 star, entire movie's disjointed. It was like watching snippets from someone's dream about not feeling adequate in life. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what it was.
And I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the filmmaker made the movie he set out to make.
Yeah.
And I don't think that everyone's gonna like it. It's like The
certainly not.
Fountain. Where The Fountain's similar, where it has like 60% on Rotten
Yeah.
Tomatoes.
I also thought of The Fountain here, where there's definitely a sense of pretension because, with any movie that is this artsy, that's going to be there. Like I said, I feel like the way that I feel about this movie is the way that I feel about a painting. It's beautiful and everything is executed so well. The visuals, the sound design, the characters, and the way it kind of like compels you to feel a certain way. But as a ride, it's definitely as a movie experience, it's definitely lacking because I didn't feel emotion about the characters or about the journey. It's all very cerebral.
Like academic kind of.
But yeah, so that is like a major criticism from me to this movie, that it would have been a better movie if I could feel.
Do you feel like
those
that
things.
is
And I feel like a fight scene would have helped.
Do you think it's mutually exclusive with like when you're watching a parable versus when you're watching something that's supposed to have more realism? You know what I mean? Like if you're watching a movie that's supposed to be like cinema verite, like this is real
Yeah,
life.
but parables are fine as long as they're not 2 hours and 10 minutes long.
Yeah, I expected
got
this movie to be
bored.
shorter.
Yeah.
I think it could have. Like, it's harder to know specifically what to cut, but I think it would be well served if it was under 2 hours.
Yeah. I mean, like, parables, moral lessons are good, but if you're going to have people sit down in a theater and like eat their popcorn and drink their stuff, you gotta entertain
A
them.
light bulb just went off. I was thinking about long shots and stuff, and I was
on?
Yeah, you're right.
Idiot.
No, in my brain it gets darker. It's the blinding light, and then it gets dark. Anyways, remember when he's bound, and then the camera does a full 360 and arrives back at him, and he's a skeleton.
Oh, I
annoying.
love that
and
shot.
then it goes. Then it
I
goes.
loved it.
It goes back, and I was just thinking, I haven't thought about that shot since I saw it in the theater, and now for a second I was like, what did that mean? But it's clear to me, I think, that is setting you up that he can have visions of the future and then have the chance to change what happens.
I mean, yeah, I guess there's that. I took it to mean that if he remains passive and if he doesn't like take charge and like make something of himself, he'll just this is how he'll end up.
Which is exactly what happens at the end. So
Yes.
if they didn't have
But it didn't have to be a 5-minute shot or whatever it was. It took so
It's
long.
like a minute.
It's not one. It's like 3 minutes.
It's cool though. Like when he goes back and he's the skeleton, I was like, I had a little I had a moment.
there was a second there where I was like, what if he just died in the rest of the movie?
I know. There was a
wasn't
second I
in it.
believed it.
Yeah, no, me too. But I didn't have like a. It was more kind of like, okay, so he's a skeleton now, and then we're turning back around. Okay.
So do you think?
Right, and it's still going. I'm like, come on, let's go, guys.
Sure.
I don't know. I
That's
wanted
fair.
to be a bit more of like
That's fair.
Well, some of us like 2001: Space Odyssey. Some of us don't. Do you think that they originally wrote that in, or like the director is the writer, is the editor of this movie?
Wow.
Do you think
he
that
edited it?
Yeah.
David Lowery?
Yeah. Didn't you think that
wow.
the editing was kind of cool?
I do, and apparently,
Pretty
this
cool.
movie was supposed to come out pre-COVID, but
Yes.
he actually took the opportunity to re-edit it because he wasn't happy with it, and I think I'd be curious to see the pre-COVID version, but I'm glad
He
that
made some choices that looked
Yeah.
novel, like just the pacing of when text comes on screen, what it looks like when it does.
I hate the fucking.
I couldn't read a lot
I
of
couldn't
it.
read any of it. I had the person I was with. I had to like interpret one of them. Like it was like the beheading
David-
of whatever.
Oh, yeah, there was one I could
that
not
was
read.
Like,
Yeah.
they're like, what? And I'm like, the beheading.
David, it's so funny how like these certain things about the movie, like I like it, you don't like it, you like it, I don't like
Oh
it.
wow, that's our podcast.
But it's so like it's crazy how consistent that is, and like something pops up and really. Yeah.
Did you see those crossfades though? When they're at the round table, it's going from one knight's face to another knight's, and there's these really fast crossfades. I was like, no one's doing that today. That is different.
Yeah, it felt very classic. Like
Yeah,
Patel.
But not too classic
old-timey.
because they weren't slow.
No, it was interesting. Yeah.
It was
I
interesting.
appreciated having those chapter breaks because I think it helped me to think about this as a true adaptation of the original poem and less of a, hey, I'm giving you this cool modern Batman take on the Green Knight.
I
or
do
whatever.
think that I mean, like, you can't speak to this, Shane, but I think they did not sell this movie quite right. I think they I don't know if they oversold it or what it is, but to me, like, it was more art house than the trailer made it out to be.
Oh, definitely.
And it's gonna get more people in the theater,
I'm sick
but
of
it's
this.
certainly
it has overperformed their projections.
Yeah.
So
I'm so tired of it.
yeah.
But it's like, I know why they're doing it, to get people in seats.
this is
but
why you don't even bother. Because sometimes I see a trailer, and it looks so actiony. Actually, I saw the trailer for Reminiscence. I was like, oh, this is kind of like Inception, but ripped off
yeah, that
with Hugh
looked kind
Jackman.
of cool. Yeah,
It looked kind of cool, and the trailer went on, and then I'm like,
I just-
this looks too actiony, but I'm hoping that it's not that actiony, and it's just trailers doing trailer things.
So I think that there are people who see this movie and are like, hey, I appreciate that they didn't go super actiony with it. You know, it's like, I appreciate that it wasn't chock full of fight scenes. You know, it was like a more contemplative, restrained, you know,
and those people are in our
exploration.
audience.
And that's cool. And I do appreciate that. But at the same time, I recognize that the movie would be better if blades met at one point. Just like, because the thing is that it has to be entertaining. And you guys are saying that it's more a cerebral thing. And I love movies that are cerebral, yet also entertaining. To me, that is what gets a 10 out of 10 to me. If it has this sort of like philosophical, intellectual side, but then it's also a fun experience.
Like The Fountain.
no.
There's some fighting in it, but it's like 2 seconds, and then they move on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I forget what I gave The Fountain, but I definitely...
You definitely loved it.
I
Everybody here
liked
loved
it. I liked it a lot. But I just feel like it's extremely annoying to me when they do these trailers and they do make it look like there's swinging of swords or swinging of axes.
No.
There's big imposing people that look like they're gonna fuck you up. So I'm like, okay, that's one thing that's annoying. And then the other thing that's annoying is even if I never saw the trailer, I would want there to be some sort of, and maybe it's not a fight scene, but maybe it's something that makes me care about these characters on a more personal, on a more like visceral level, instead of me thinking of this as a detached morality tale.
What's more visceral than semen?
It's pretty visceral.
Pretty visceral, dude.
Pretty real.
Okay, going back to that shot, the 360 one, though, what I was going to ask you was, do you think that he always planned to have that? Or do you think that that wasn't in the movie? The rest of the movie was shown to test audiences, and they were like, what was with that vision at the end? And then he had to go back, okay, we need to earn that, so retroactively, we're going to write in this like mini version of that.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like you don't need to sell that he had a vision. I mean, like David said, I feel like it's a mystical thing. He's in this green chapel with this force of nature, this character that represents something that we can't understand. So it's like, all right, he had a vision. All right, that's fine.
I think
It's not like an inherent quality of Gawain that he has visions.
But I think it helps sell the idea that when it happens, it doesn't feel so Deus Exy. It's like, oh, we've had visions in this universe. That's
yeah,
fine.
it's like, oh, this is a technique that this is a thing that happens in this movie. Even if it's not a Gawain thing, it's
See, I didn't even read it as a vision when it happened. I just
and I don't think that at the end of the movie, when the real vision does happen, I don't think anyone was like, oh yeah, well, remember the skeleton part?
Yeah, of course.
So that's why I kind of think it's retroactive. I think there's some people left the test audience and were like, ew, not sure if I like this movie. They're like, okay, what can we do? And then they wrote this little thing
That's
in.
fair. Because I think there's a lot of scenarios in which that vision would rub me the wrong way, where it's like, oh, he had a big long dream sequence and then that gave him his big character growth. Like, that's kind of lame.
It was all a dream.
Yeah, it's like, that could be lame, but I didn't feel that in this case. And maybe that is part of it, is that it kind of earns it a little bit. And then I'm predisposed to accept it.
You might be right that that's why they put it in there, but in the moment, I wasn't thinking this is a vision. I was just thinking this is the film saying something about what will happen if he doesn't do his quest or whatever.
Right.
So I didn't even connect the vision and the skeleton.
I didn't until just now.
Okay.
But I think in retrospect, it seems like clearly connected.
Fair.
Oh, well, maybe.
Okay, then. No, I agree with what you're saying, though. It's like one seems like it's internal to his mind, and the other seems like it's the film doing it, or, from the outside. Because clearly, if he's a skeleton, he's not thinking.
Skeletons can't think, and that's just science.
Except that ghost, though. Her head was in the lake.
But she's not a skeleton.
Yeah, it's not a skeleton doing the thinking.
So
She's separated.
Was the skeleton always in the bed? And when he was sleeping in the bed, there was actually a skeleton in there? He just didn't
Probably.
see it?
Probably.
Magic.
So much
I
magic.
feel like he got in the bed and the skeleton was to the side.
Spoon. Little spoon?
Yeah.
Would have been the big one, I think.
Favorite line in the whole movie is when the scoundrel is robbing him and Gawain's like, was there ever a chapel? And he's like, you're in it, bitch.
He says bitch?
No. I just love that. Because to me, that was the moment where I'm like, I'm so fucking into this.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
That actually gives credence to the theory that it's all the Green Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is all the Green Knight. Okay.
I love it.
He rules the land.
To near the since we're almost ending this, I want to share my favorite comment on the YouTube
Oh, please.
trailer for this movie, which is everyone's gangsta until 1 year hence.
That's pretty good.
Oh my god, some people
Like
are
chops
funny.
off his head and he's like, "Ha, I got it." And he's like, "Surprise, bitch!" Yeah.
This is Oh, sorry.
No, that's it.
Yeah, this is a great movie. It's not for everyone. I think like you'll know if you're into this kind of slow moving,
Yeah.
it's cerebral movie. But if you are, this is a great one.
It's unquestionably a good movie.
Yeah.
It could be better.
This podcast is just going to be Marvel and A24 movies. That's all we do. It's all we need to do.
I prefer watching these. I like the
Yes.
Marvel movies too. but
A24 Cinematic Universe.
yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
The Green Knight versus what
The-
else is there? A24 Hereditary?
Yeah, and then like the boyfriend in Midsummer comes back and he's like in the bear costume on fire.
Yo. Yeah.
That could totally work.
That thing, the Paimon from Hereditary,
yeah.
Demon versus Green Knight.
Fuck yeah.
That's a Marvel fight
Yeah,
right
the
there. They have
witch,
powers.
The witch.
The witch, yeah.
Willem Dafoe in Lighthouse.
Oh man.
Yeah, the Lighthouse. Yeah, mid '90s. This is a '90s skateboarder shows up. Ex Machina's an A24.
Oh,
movie.
that could be
really?
good. Yeah. Robots.
Yo, they could totally have. They could have an
I want to
Avengers.
Smash Bros,
that comes
but
up.
like A24.
Yeah.
A24 Smash.
Honestly, every provocative movie of the last
I love it.
5 years has been from A24.
They're doing something pretty.
Killing of a Sacred Deer, 8th Grade.
They did 8th grade, huh?
Yeah, just everything that's not Marvel.
There's only Disney and A24 left. That's 2027, the state of this
Yeah.
cinema.
All right, what are we doing next week again? Suicide Squad.
You guys are doing so.
We're contributing to superheroes.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
That one
man.
looks cool. It looks cool. There's a shark person.
The other one that's coming out next week is 9 Days, which is that movie that we definitely want to do.
Let's do that one the
But
week
I don't
after.
think. Yeah,
Maybe.
we will. But we don't want to. I don't know if it's available here.
Oh, I see.
It's a limited release.
That always hurts the views because other people
Yep.
can't see
Yeah.
it.
Well,
But definitely
Uncut Gems, Lady Bird, those are both A24.
okay,
Moonlight.
stop. We're off that. It's over.
I always do this.
I got to
are
publish
excellent.
tech linked.
Okay, well, see you guys later.
Bye. Thank
Love you.
Email us at hello.
Oh yeah, you got to do that
Carpool
whole
Critics.
thing, James.
Tweet at us at Carpool Critics.
What about the email?
He said it.
Okay.
Bye.
Hello.
See you later.
Bye.